G'day, guys. Welcome back to Statchat Sports. We're here for the weekly ChitChat Podcast. You're here with me, Josh. I've got BT on the line, and we've got a pretty stacked show this week. Talking cricket, talking AFL, our regular weekly segments. But before we get into it, BT, how you going, mate?
Very well, mate. Very well. Not long till footy season. Big cricket game tomorrow. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
It's kicking off.
The cricket's kind of just snuck around on us, hasn't it? Because usually when the cricket's out of Australia, it's a little bit out of sight, out of mind. Obviously it's not on the telly. It doesn't seem to get as much coverage in the media. So, it snuck up, but it's been a nice little pleasant surprise.
Yeah, this one's been on media a little bit because it's their first tour of Pakistan in quite a while. I can't remember the exact amount of years, but
24 years, BT.
There's
the stat chat for you.
That's the stat chat of the episode. Done and dusted, out early.
What was that, 60 seconds?
But yeah, it's definitely snuck up on us. I wasn't interested in the 2020s that were played here in Australia. I think I watched one of those. And that was the one that was a tie, went to the Super Over. But
yeah, that's fair enough. And I mean, the T20s, aside from the World Cup that we had last year, I mean, that certainly got a bit of interest going, at least from my point of view, but just sort of standalone T20s don't really do it for me. It should be a good test series. Is it 2 matches, 3 matches? I can't remember.
I think it's 3. I think so.
Yeah. Should be good to get some cricket in. Initial reports from the pitch for this test. I think this podcast is going to go out before the start of play on day 1, which will be good. It's kind of relevant. But the pitch, from what I've seen, is looking like it's going to be a potential spinner's paradise, BT.
Well, I was looking at it a couple of hours ago before we were recording this, and from the looks, from my take, and I love this shit. I love looking at the pitch. I love the pitch reports. Back in the day,
you're a garden man.
Yes, I'm a garden man. Back in the day, getting up early, watching the pre-game, watch them put that key into the pitch.
Tony Gregg out there with the weatherboard. Oh, you love it.
Yeah. It looks shiny for the first. I think it looks pretty shiny, which means it's going to be. You have to bat first. You have to. It looks like that's going to be best time to bat is the first probably 2 days. The ball's not going to turn too much, but after that, I think the cracks will definitely start opening up. I think I wouldn't be surprised. It'll be interesting. I don't know how Australia's going to line up. They're keeping it quiet.
Yeah.
They normally.
So this is what I was going to ask you. So 2 spinners or 1 is the big question they've got to answer.
And it's whether they play. So do they bring in Swepson, which would be the other spinner, or they play Agar as the all-rounder? Or they just stick with their guns, have the second spinner as Travis Head. You got Labuschagne there as well, who can part-time spin. But Lyon just bowls his 40, 50 overs in the second innings. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, I think they're probably leaning towards going with the established lineup with the 1 spinner first.
Yeah.
Like you said, Head and Labuschagne are handy. Smith can obviously bowl a couple of leggies if he has to. And then realistically, if you went to 2, they probably go Swepson ahead of Agar, just because he brings, he's obviously a leggy as opposed to Lyon. So just gives them something a little bit different. But again, Swepson isn't necessarily proven either. He'd be on debut if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he's had very limited exposure to international matches from a 1-day and a T20 point of view. And there hasn't really been a lot of first-class cricket in the last couple of years either. So not exactly coming in with a real base of, test cricket, long form of the game cricket is Swepson. So a bit of a risk.
Yeah, exactly. But they could play Agar as over, I don't see it happening, but over like Cam Green if they want to play him as all-round, because he's handy with the bat as well. But
Green would be the only one that you could lose, isn't it? Because again, I think the batting lineup is pretty well established now after the Ashes series. So, it's number 6, and Green would be stiff to miss out. But you got to pick the team for the conditions, don't you? Yeah.
which you want to see Green, because Green's the future. He's going to be that future all-round. He's going to be there for quite a while. It's very handy. But we say the batting line set, which it is. The only problem I have with it is the two openers. You're going to say Big Uzi and Warner are going to open.
Yeah, Khawaja has to get the Guernsey, particularly with Khawaja against the spin. You think it's a no-brainer. And with Warner, it's just a question of how long is he going to last for? You know, how old would he be now? He'd be
They're both 35. Both 35.
Both 35.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
You have to think. Yeah.
We don't have it. But it's like, who else comes in? Obviously, Harris had his chances. He had many chances. He's still in the squad. He still made the 18-man squad.
You can't go with Harris.
No.
Can't do
it. That's where Australia's going to lack, I think, in the next few years. God knows what's going to happen with the new coach and whatnot coming through. But they need an established opener coming through. That's what they need, because, like we said, Warner and Khawaja are both mid-30s. They don't have too much longer left.
Well, there's been how many guys have they tried probably in the last 5 years? Harris, Burns, Renshaw. Whatever happened to Renshaw? I don't know. Bukowski is another concussion, so it's really hard to see him sadly making a return to the green and gold. I can't think of who else. The Sean Marsh experiment has obviously been and gone. So they're going to have to find someone, unless of course they promote from within and look to elevate someone like Travis Head to the opening position. I don't know.
Alex Carey.
Even Carey isn't a sure thing in the team, in my opinion, either. Josh Inglis making some real strides in the T20 game.
Yeah, that's big.
He's 5 years younger. He's got a lot of potential. Once he puts it all together, he certainly, I think, is a better prospect for the long term than Alex Carey. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, they've got a few interesting calls to make in the next few years. But I'm excited to watch this. It finished, I think it starts around 1 p.m. WA time. And I knock off work at 2, so I get the second and third session. Straight home, straight on KO, straight on telly. That's me set for the weekend.
That. And it's just KO, isn't it? I don't think it's on free to air.
To be honest, I don't even look these days. I just go straight to KO. I don't even.
Again, we are not sponsored by KO, but if you are from KO and you're somehow watching this, please hit us up, because we love your product. It's terrific.
Yeah, it was life-changing. That's what it is. For a sport lover like me.
Yeah. Now, speaking of sport lovers, we did mention off the top, the AFL season is now 2 weeks away, so we've almost got there, guys. You know, we've been trying to fill this void between, you know, the Ashes series and the footy season starting, and we're just about there, BT.
Yeah, about time. It's the worst time of the whole year. I love my cricket, but once it gets towards that end of the cricket season, even that 5th test, you're kind of like, all right, I want footy season now. And it's just that couple months there. It's just waiting. You got a few sporting events that pop up, but nothing compares to that round 1 of footy.
Yeah, well, we've got the official pre-season games this weekend now, as opposed to the scratch matches that happened last weekend. You're going to be tuning in, BT? Any games in particular that you're keen to watch, aside from we are both West Coast Eagles supporters, so we'll likely be tuning into that?
I'll try and watch as many as I can, purely for the AFL fantasy perspective, because they only play the one game. So they're playing full strength teams near much, but it's I'll watch it because it's footy anyway. Teams don't go as hard. Some teams go harder than others. Like tonight's game, we're recording this on Thursday night, and the Carlton-Melbourne game just finished. Carlton got up by 5 points.
Yeah, good result there for the Blues. They're going to be happy with that.
Yeah, they were up by 6 goals at one stage, I think. But, yeah, I don't know. It's like you could tell Melbourne, they were trying. Don't get me wrong, they were definitely trying. There was like a few instances where they pulled back a bit, not going in as hard. You see like an Oliver not breaking through like he normally would. But where Carlton, on the other hand, these new recruits trying to prove their spot. That's
under Vossi as well,
under the new coach. So that's the only thing. That's what you got to look at. You can't take these into the season as much. That's what people think. Like Melbourne losing tonight, you can't say, oh, they're not premiership favourites now because they lost to Carlton.
Yeah, well, Melbourne obviously is one of the teams we still haven't featured yet in our series of AFL season previews. So if you haven't seen them, then make sure you check out the channel. We've been going through our predictions from 18 all the way through to who we think is going to win the flag. Melbourne, obviously, we haven't touched on yet, so we think we're going to finish 5th or better because that's where we're up to now. It's an interesting one with Melbourne because they've obviously got a lot of hype. Everyone's going, look, definitely the favourites back to back. Do you think there's going to be a bit of a letdown? They kind of shot out the blue a little bit to win the flag last year. We've seen previously teams come up, win it, and they're no sure thing to go back the next year.
Yeah, especially these teams. But I think they came from 9th the year before they finished. So it didn't even make the top 8 and then win it. Like I said, whenever that happens, normally the team drops off a little bit. They look like a very good team, though. I like their list a lot. But I like the top 5 teams that we have, so make sure you tune into those. Any of those 5.
Who's left at the moment? At the moment, we've got Melbourne left. The Bulldogs we still haven't covered yet. Brisbane, Sydney, and Port Adelaide still to feature in our countdown for the top 5. Yeah, so some pretty good lists there. But yeah, just going back to it with the Demons, I mean, I think we get a little bit caught up with these dynasty teams. We've had Richmond for the last 4 years. We had Hawthorn for half a decade before that. We had Geelong up there for an extended period of time. The Eagles over a 2-year period. Brisbane doing the 3-peat. So yeah, do we get too transfixed on, a team gets up there and wins one, automatically they're the buzz team, because they don't always do it.
The thing especially with Hawthorn and Richmond, both of when they're dominant, they changed the game, the style of how the game was played. Back when Hawthorn did it, they precision kicking, never missing a target, working their way up the field. That's how they did
the zone.
The zone. Then teams started adopting that. And then Richmond came along, changed it up, sporadic, high pressure, tap the ball forward, get it forward, no matter what, just constant pressure. Teams started doing that. I don't know I can't see what Melbourne, they're a very good team, don't get me wrong. They've got these class players in Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver, top quality players. But the game plan isn't it's not going to change the AFL. You know what I mean?
No, it's just win good contested footy.
Yeah.
And get the ball forward. They have a really good midfield brigade and they've got one of the best ruckmen in the competition putting it down their throats. There's no real, revolutionary sides to that.
No, exactly. So that's what I think teams can work that out more than they could work out like a Hawthorn, Richmond type. That's just my opinion. It could be completely wrong. They could win 4 in a row. Who knows? But that's just how I see it.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And look, we're not knocking Melbourne, and at the same time, we're not saying that we think they're going to win the flag as well. You're going to have to tune into the channel and see where we're going to have them sitting when we do get around to our Melbourne season preview video. Another one of the videos that we're going to be putting out on the channel very shortly is our AFL Fantasy season previews. Yeah, we're big on our AFL Fantasy here on the channel. BT himself is on the road for a hat this year. He's been very close to the top 100 for the last few years. He's trying to find his way to get that hat. So we're going to be covering that all year, but really what you guys are going to want to see is who we've got in our teams. What's the makeup of the team like? You're going guns and rooks. You're going the 2 big rucks. Which mid-prices do you like? So certainly we're going to be covering all of that in a dedicated video before round 1 BT. But is there a couple of snippets that I think we can give the people as we're getting less than 2 weeks to go from the start of the season?
Oh, we definitely can. There's definitely a few locks I have or aren't coming in or out of my team no matter what happens in this preseason games. I was about to call it the
Short
Wizard
of injury.
Cup. It's about to call it the Wizard Cup.
The Wizard Cup?
Yeah.
That's 15 years ago
Yeah,
from the Wizard Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Um,
That's taking me back to like 2004 AFL Live, the Premiership PlayStation game.
I don't know where that
Jeepers
came
creepers.
from. Yeah.
Anyway, the Wizard, Amy, Nab, bloody JLT, whatever you want to call it, Cup.
Yeah. I've got Grundy, who's a lock. I think he's gonna dominate this season. He's all Australian ruckman for me.
And he's probably underpriced based on what we know he can deliver as well.
Yeah. He's averaging 120 plus, I reckon, this season. He's highly owned, so that's no surprise there. I've got Dunkley at F1. I think he's pretty popular.
He's locked for me at the moment.
Yeah.
I think we saw enough in the Bulldogs pre-season scratch match last week to know that he's going to get some pretty hefty on-ball time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's key for him. And he's a huge scorer. I think he's scored like a 180 before he has. So,
wow.
I've got McRae in there, who's going to be pretty hard for me to take out.
Interesting. So you're not concerned about the midfield minutes? You think he's going to get his numbers regardless? Not get the attention?
No. They don't really tag him, to be honest. They tag me every now and then, but you want to tag Bont. Bont's going to kill you. If Bont gets going, he wins you the game. If McRae gets going, he's definitely going to influence the game, but not as much as what Bontempelli's going to. Tom Mitchell, he's in there, but he's no certainty because of his price.
Right.
He's going to have a good year, but there's a few. It all depends on what. Like I've got Gawn. Gawn's going in and out of my team.
Okay, so you're going the two big guns straight up, no questions asked. You're not even mucking around with it.
At this stage, yes. I did have Jack Steele, but he's got a wicked run to start off with. One bad game. If he scores, he could easily score 130 every game, 130 plus every game in the first 6 rounds. But if he has that one bad game where he scores 80 or 90, that break
he's going to lose skyrockets. He's going to lose 50, 100,000 easy.
Straight up, skyrockets to 170, 180. That break even. Before you know it, he's low 900s, and that's when you pick him up.
I'm having a real difficult time picking any of those guys that are like 950 and above. I think it's just the old school. Yeah, it's the old school DT in me where the salary cap was that bit lower, but the numbers just seem way too high. It's just it's a real turn off for me.
It all depends on what structure you want as well. Like I said, I like Gawn in there, but he's 911. Well, you got Rob or Marshall, who's that
in the 700s.
Exactly, and if you can use that extra money to benefit your team in some way, like because obviously you would think Gawn and Grundy, you're 1 and 2 racks by quite a while. You would think on paper they're going to be 120 plus based off. Watching tonight's game against Melbourne Carlton, Gawn was 70% in defence, 30% midfield, playing nearly all ruck contests. Didn't go forward hardly at all. So if he's playing like that,
getting
then
plenty of the footy.
Yeah, if he's playing like that, then he's going to be the number 1 ruck. Well, him and Grundy.
So for me, now I turned on AFL Fantasy for the first time last week and put a bit of a team together, and I thought, I'll just send this across to the fellas and see what they think, and was met with just utter disdain and criticism for my pretty well straight mid-prices lineup. It was chock full of them. I couldn't get enough of them. I think the forward line, I had pretty much every single mid-price player you could think of. But I just love the value, BT. I think there's just some guys out there that really are heavily underpriced and are really hard to go past. So I think even though I probably won't go with all the mid-prices, I might rein it in a little bit. There's a few guys there that I'm going to have a hard time knocking out of my team. And from a mid-price point of view, my top three, if I had to go with them, Patrick Cripps, I think, has done enough for me. I've been burned by Paddy in the past, big time. But his pre-seasons look phenomenal. And I think he's priced at under 700. He's certainly got 100 to 110 average well within his reach. So that, for me, I think is a lock. I can't go past that.
So, before you go,
no. Yeah,
what do you classify as mid-price, like price range? What's your theory?
Well, I think for me, a mid-pricer is someone that would be 150,000 or more, less than your top bracket in that position group.
Yeah.
So, like, if we're talking, midfields are a little bit different, but like with your mids, if those top guys are 950 and above, a mid-pricer for me is someone that's going to be 750, 700 and below.
Yeah.
Like with your forwards, I think the top guys are about 800-ish. Yep. So I'm looking for someone around that 650. Yep, somewhere in that range. So that's probably where I'd sit it as my definition. Is that fair?
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you're right on. Who have you got number two?
So Cripps is number one. Number two for me, and I've been burned by this guy again. I don't know what it is. I'm a sucker for punishment. Isaac Heaney. Isaac Heaney is looking phenomenal. He looks like he's getting that time finally in the midfield. It's hard for me to go past it, BT. It's
every preseason. Oh, he's getting that time in the middle. His breakout year, come round one, sits at full forward. Oh, he's in my team.
I have to do it though. I have to do it.
Yeah,
it's a non-negotiable.
He's sitting there, and because if he does get that midfield time and you don't have him, that's going to kill you.
It's like last year. Last year, the four guys that you had to have Aaron Hall, you had to have Parrish, you had to have Zeeble, and there's another guy that escapes me. That it was Miller. Yeah. If you had three or all of those guys and you got them early, you had a good team. You were set. You had the cash. You were there. If you miss the boat, you're gone. And that's the problem in the mid prices. It's okay if you don't get them from the start, but you've got to pick them up within the first week or two, or ship sailed.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fine line, and that's what makes or breaks your season. I missed out. I got Hall just too late. I paid too much for him, but he was a must-have in the end because he was scoring massive. But those other three you named, never had him in my team. And
wow. And you still just missed the top 100.
Didn't get that hat.
Maybe that's what it was. Well, anyway, my third guy as a mid-pricer, and to be honest, I almost like him better than the first two that I mentioned. Zach Butters, guaranteed midfield time. He is locked in, ready to go. I think he's low 600s, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you've got to have him in your team for me. Yeah, he's one of those mid-prices that is just done, set and forget. He'll be in your top six forwards by the end of the year.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's in there for me. They have to, with Boken, Robbie Gregg, and to the end of their careers, you got to have these guys. You got Rosie, who's going to be practically taking Robbie Gregg's spot in the forward line, but Travis Boak, he doesn't have too many seasons left. So you got to, Zach Butters is taking his spot in that midfield, and like you said, he's going to be playing 100% midfield. He's a lock.
Yeah. So they're my three. I'll probably have more, but I'll definitely have those three in the team. You can guarantee that. Lock that in. Perfect. But like I said, we'll do a full AFL fantasy show just before the season starts so we can get those last-minute rookies and give you our final teams as we head into round one.
Yes, looking forward to it. We love it. I think I've been playing fantasy for 15 years nearly.
About 10 for me. I didn't jump on as early as you did.
Mm.
And we're not about the Supercoach, just AFL fantasy. That's all we do. We don't do both. So if you're a Supercoach fan, sorry, out of luck. It's
not our forte.
No, it's not our ball game. One of our regular segments that we like to do here on the Chit Chat Weekly podcast, it's story time. We pick up on a story, maybe obscure, maybe a bit more popular from the week that's gone, and try and relate it to, well, I guess just everyday life and sports in general. And the story I've got for you this week, BT, you're not a huge soccer fan. Taylor and Steve do our weekly EPL podcast. If you haven't seen that, make sure you check it out. But they're our soccer guys. And on the video that I think has come out for the weekly EPL podcast, they were talking about the Carabao Cup, which is the English League Cup. It was between Chelsea and Liverpool. Taylor's a massive Liverpool fan, so he was very happy with the result. Stephen as well. So we've got the two of them there. I'm also aligned to Liverpool, so I was pretty happy with the result too. But the big storyline from the match was it came down to the penalty shootouts. And the guys they couldn't miss. You know, the whole team just kept putting them in the net. Everybody was scoring. And it ended up coming down to the Chelsea goalkeeper, Kepa, was the one that had to take the penalty to keep Chelsea in the match. And it's one of those moments where he's just standing there going, geez, how did I end up here? I'm completely out of my element. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Comes in to try and save the game, and he fair dinkum puts the ball probably 20 metres over the crossbar. He absolutely skied it. And you just had to feel for the poor bloke because he's going, well, what am I supposed to do? I've tried to save 11 penalties in a row. The rest of the team couldn't help me out. And now here I am trying to save the game as well. And it was stiff. It was very stiff. So I guess the way we're going to wrap around back to this is, you know, when have you been on the sporting field and just really felt out of your element, BT? You know, you kind of felt this is a notch above, and this is not where I'm supposed to be right now.
I've got one. I've been thinking about this, and this one just kept. Had a few, but this one just kept coming to the top. When I was playing, it would have been maybe under 15s in footy, AFL.
Yeah.
Coming up against Kelmscott, where Brendan Archie was playing.
Oh, yes. Very handy little footballer there for Port Adelaide and the Eagles.
So I was having a terrible game. Missing targets left, right and centre, playing on the wing. And he's playing right in the middle of the guts, dominating. I was doing nothing. So the coach was like, all right, go and run with him. He's tearing us apart. I'm like, because I'm doing nothing. Might as well get me to do something. Throws me straight in Archie. I'm not a tall guy. And back then, he was solid. He was a big bloke. And so he's like, all right, chuck me on him, just piss him off, get him off his game because he's tearing us apart. I go, all right, straight into the guts. I am. Next ruck contest, I'm there right next to him, grabbing his T-shirt, grabbing that. Next minute, whacks my arm off, runs off, gets the tap, straight down the middle, kicks a goal. I was like, well, there is nothing I can do. Next one, exact same. Literally identical. Two goals within the minute on me. Next minute, I'm off the field. I'm off. I was like,
this is well deserved too.
Yeah,
you're putting your hand up, going, "Coach, get me off.
Yeah,
get me out of here. I don't need that."
And you could just tell. And now you know him playing, making it all the way. He was just that next level above everyone else. You could just
at least it makes you feel good knowing that a guy that ultimately was AFL caliber was the one that really just put you in your place and made you go, "Yeah, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not cut out for this."
Yeah. Oh, he tore me apart. He tore our whole team apart. I think he kicked like nearly 5-6 goals playing in the midfield that game.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, it's just another level sometimes.
Yeah.
I've got a story for you as well. I was playing indoor soccer with a bunch of mates. We just sort of had put a team together. It was a bunch of workmates. And so we just, go down once a week, tried to be a little bit serious about it, but realistically it was pretty social and we weren't great. There was a couple of soccer players in there, but the rest of us were kind of just, running around, trying not to get, caught out and embarrassed. So we weren't very good. I think we had a run there where we didn't win a game in a good 3 months. It was embarrassing. It was terrible. And as you do with indoor competitions, they have to wrap up the season at some point. So we got to the end of the year, and I think there was 14 teams in the comp, and we were clearly 14. And they decided to do like a bit of a finals bracket, right? So they had like the top 4 teams were the top finals, and then the next 4 were the middle finals, and then I think it was 9 through 12 was the bottom finals. And so we were 14th, so we weren't getting there. But they had a team that somehow finished above us but didn't qualify for the finals because they hadn't played enough games. And then the week before finals, there was another team which had got in a bit of a scuffle and an altercation on the field, got themselves suspended, so they got knocked out. So lo and behold, this team of absolute scrubs that we are somehow managed to get into the bottom finals, and we're playing in finals, right? Here we go. All right, let's get serious about it. Rock up for our first semi-final. The other team wasn't there, forfeited. Unbelievable. We haven't won a game in 3 months. We've made it through to the grand final. And I tell you what, we got absolutely towed up. We were shocking. They were running rings around us. We were not at the level. We were not there, but we got a trophy anyway. And I have no idea where that trophy is. I'd love to find it. But it was the definition of a participation trophy. That's what it was.
Oh, that's hilarious. Soccer's one of those sports where if you don't play it often, and especially if you have a team that doesn't play often, and you come up against a good team, you are screwed. You have no shots. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do not have the skills of a soccer player. I have a bit more of the physique of an Aussie rules player, and I try to clean people up and give them a little bit of muscle. And it wasn't really that sort of game. But yeah, well and truly out of a depth, hands down. So look, if you've got any stories like that, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. That's what we're all about, having a bit of feedback, having a bit of a chat. So let us know if you've got anything where you can somewhat relate to being a bit out of depth on the sporting field. Regular segments, BT. Here's one that we're really starting to get up and about. It's BT's Bets. It's your domain. You love having a little bit of a flutter. And of course, we're very happy to be sponsored by PlayUp as well. So if you are interested in gambling, make sure you click the links. We'll have a link somewhere on the screen here as well. Sign up and do what you got to do. But BT, you've got a couple of suggestions for those out there that might want to have a gamble this weekend?
Got a couple for the cricket. Just straight head-to-head. The odds are pretty close. The draw's at 350. But to be honest with you, I don't mind Pakistan at $2 at $2.40. We know Australia's not dominant in the like subcontinent conditions. They do struggle a little bit when they go over there. I think Pakistan's going to be up and about playing back at home. The crowd's going to be packed. Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised. Either way, I can see it going either way, to be honest. But
well, that doesn't help anybody if you can see it going either way. We need a sure thing here, BT.
I'm leaning Pakistan. That's just your head-to-head. But the bet I do like, though, $5.50 for Khawaja for top run scorer in the first innings for Australia.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, there's good value there. He'll open. He should stick around and play well in the conditions. I like that. Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, $5.50. I thought that was not too bad. And top, we could take a first innings for Australia. Hazelwood at 375. I think it's just going to, like I said, the pitch, it's just going to be, I think it might move a little bit in the first day or two. It's not going to be over the amount of spin. And you need that bowler that's just going to hit that line and length every single time. I think Hazelwood will just maybe get you 3 or 4 there.
Yeah, nice. Very good. Can we multi those together? Is that an option? Do you know, or you haven't?
I haven't looked at that. I'm not a huge multi guy. I'm not. Okay. I'm more of a $1.90 type better. That's what I normally go with, and then I look for value in these other things. I like to slowly build that bankroll. Saying that, I saw this bet today. This. It made me laugh a little bit, and I wouldn't. If you want to have a bet, I wouldn't recommend it, but I found this pretty funny. You could bet on like 2 teams in the AFL, 2 players who will score 100 goals combined for the season.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's nice. I like that.
So your favourite was Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron, which was $1.40, which is terrible odds. Absolutely terrible odds.
Imagine if one of them gets injured.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I saw one at 41 to 1. Big Cameron Zerha and Nick Larkey.
Oh, jeepers.
At 41 to 1.
At 41 to 1, it's not bad.
At
I
those
can't
odds,
see it happening.
No,
I can't see it happening because I don't think Larky's going to kick. Larky's not going to kick 50, I don't think.
You wouldn't think so.
Well, in saying that, he did kick 40 odd last year. So
That is true.
if the Roos do progress, but Zerha is probably going to get more midfield time. So I think that's probably
He's going to be closer to your 30. So you're going to need closer to your 60 odd for Larky, which that's Coleman. That's your Coleman nearly there.
Yeah.
So if you're betting on that, then put your money on Larky for Coleman as well.
Goodness me. Do these markets, are they only for players on the same team? Is that how it works?
There was a few. There was a lot of you could do any team. There was a lot of combinations. I didn't go through all of because a lot of them were only like $2 or $3 ones. Which, like we said, if one injury, then you're screwed because no player's going to kick close to 100 goals. It's just not how the game is anymore.
And realistically, there would have only been about probably less than 10 players that kicked 50 goals last year.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a common thing anymore.
No. But you got I remember a Danaher, which like in the last one, I don't mind, Coleman at 15 to 1, which you weren't a fan of at all.
I've come around a little bit more. I've had a bit of time to think about it, and I do like your logic, but I still just find it really hard to get on board with Old Smoking Joe.
Well, him and Cameron to kick 100 was at 5 to 1.
See, I think that's really good odds.
That's not too bad. I don't mind that. That's the only other one.
Yeah. That's where I'd be going.
Yeah.
Not that I bet, but that's where I'd be going right there.
But again, it's just one injury. That's the problem with that market. But at 5 to 1, that's not too bad. But out of all those bets I just named, if I was to pick one, I'd be going with Josh Hazelwood, top wicket taker. I like that a lot.
There you go. Josh Hazelwood, first innings, top wicket taker. Top wicket taker, I should say. Make sure you get on that and get on board with Play Up, a big sponsor of the show. Really glad to have them on board. Make sure you follow the links and, of course, gamble responsibly. BT, as we get ready to wrap up the show, any channel news from Statchat Sports that we should be letting the people know about?
Well, we've got the last 5 teams for the AFL Season Preview coming up next week because the week after is when the season starts. We've got a fantasy one we'll do, standard EPL. We're going to be talking about Formula 1 because that's starting very soon. That's coming up.
Yes. Drive to Survive is starting soon. I know my partner's very excited about watching that. So we'll be enjoying that.
Then you just general chit chat, which we have me and Josh doing every now and then. The other two might join us for that. But if there's anything that comes up, anything that you want us to talk about, let us know. We're happy to talk about any sport.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for that, BT. Good chatting you as always. Thanks again for tuning in and watching us. And look, make sure you subscribe, keep up to date with all the latest content here at Statchat Sports. And we'll see you on the next video. Cheers.